All right, let's move on to Carolina. Finished last season at 5-12, and we finally saw a glimpse of the potential that Bryce Young has in this league. And those last few games when Andy Dalton had gone down with the injury after the car accident. But before that, it was abysmal. Seeing Bryce on the field, he just looked small, and the way he played made him look smaller. And it seemed like he was about to lose the job completely. He got benched by head coach Dave Canales in favor of Andy Dalton, who is a veteran in this league and a proven winner with the Cincinnati Bengals. But coming into this season, after those last few games, we finally got to see kind of what all the hype was around Bryce Young. He never looked back, passing for 15 touchdowns, and he basically kept the Panthers competitive in games in the back half of the season. And so coming into this year, which sample size are we going to get? Are we going to get what we saw at the end of last year? Or are we going to get what we saw up until then with Bryce Young?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. So yeah, he started off terrible. They put Dalton in, they won a game, and that does usually happen because the defense is prepared, opposing defense is prepared. Then obviously that did not work out. Dalton played pretty terrible from there on out. They did not win anymore with Dalton starting quarterback. And then when Bryce Young came back, like you said, they were more competitive. They actually finished 4-6, semi-respectable compared to where they were before. And a few of those losses were pretty close against good teams. Definitely more competitive. Good for Bryce Young because his career had gotten off to a disastrous start. And this offense, I feel like, could be real sneaky good if if we get the back half of 2024 Bryce Young for 2025. Obviously, if you followed the NFL draft, you know they took the McMillan from Arizona with their number 7 overall pick. He has big shoes to fill because their skill positions really weren't the strength of this team. Chuba Hubbard's a good running back. Other than that, Adam Thielen and Xavier Legette aren't really scary opposing wide receivers. But if McMillan turns out to be a dog and he's a wide receiver one, then that could really help Bryce Young. And like you mentioned earlier, Dave Canales came from Tampa Bay, helped Baker Mayfield resurrect his career, supposed to be an offensive guy. So we could really see this offense improve. I feel like there's a real chance with that. The issue is I don't really know how much their offense could improve a lot, but this was the worst defense in the league last year, and they really did nothing to address it. They were the only team that allowed 30 points per game, over 30 points per game last year, and the only team that allowed over 400 yards by the offense last year. And they didn't really address too much for it. I like Derek Brown as a nose tackle, and J.C. Horn's a good player, but other than that, there's really no names on here. Not many names you'd recognize on this Panthers defense, and I even with an offensive coach, like I said, that helps the offense, but I don't think that's going to help the defense at all. And Bryce Young would have to improve a lot for them to have a winning record, I feel like, because with how bad this defense is, they're going to need to win shootouts. And there's been no sign that there will be that great of improvements where this team can win shootouts like the Bengals, for example.
Yeah, that would have to be a huge and almost unrealistic jump for Bryce Young to take season over season coming into this year. So, the defense, which is tough to say about Carolina when they used to have one of the best defenses led by the linebacker Luke Kuechly. To say that their defense now is the way it looks like. You mentioned Xavier Legette, and that's someone I feel like is if there's anybody outside of like Bryce Young or maybe Dave Canales that is on the hot seat, it's Xavier Legette, which Carolina has basically proven in this offseason that they don't trust him as a wide receiver one. They sniffed around for guys like DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson, and free agency. Ended up selecting, as you mentioned, Tedero McMillan, and it just kind of screams the fact that if he doesn't improve, and it could not be it might not be looking good for Legette with the Panthers going forward. I'm seeing the line at 6.5.
Yes, that's what I had too. This defense is too awful for me to go over that. I do think they'll get to 6 wins. and I think it'll be a prettier five. Like last year, it was an ugly 5-12, except for
Yeah,
the last part of the season. I feel like they'll be 6-11, and it'll be a little more pleasant to watch, I would say.
right. Maybe some
And
wins spread out this time rather than
yeah, then
at
the
the end
real
of the year.
question is, what are they going to do at quarterback? Um, I mean, because it's tough because he might play better, but he might not get the wins just because I mean this defense is just
So if
abysmal.
if he
So
improves,
then how do you evaluate that is
right.
the question. Uh, do you just go all in on addressing the defense and hope that was the issue, or did like Bryce Young reach his ceiling and he's really not going to get much better? So might as well just start off with a full rebuild. And when you start off with a full rebuild, the first thing you really do is quarterbacks.
Right. There's a few teams in this league that have some young quarterbacks, like the Giants with Jackson Dart, the Browns with Sanders, who impressed in preseason, and then obviously Carolina with Bryce Young, who, do they build around these guys or do they address defense? This draft coming up next year is going to be a good quarterback draft, unlike this past draft. So if he only improves marginally and they only get to 5, 6 wins again, but he looks better than he did before, I mean, is that enough to prove that he should be the starting quarterback going forward?
This is an impatient owner too, if you recall, Scott Teppers. This fan base and team is hungry for any success, though they've not won more than 7 games since 2017. So yeah, it's been pretty miserable times in Charlotte here recently, and I feel like their ceiling is 7 wins, so that would be the over, but I don't think they reached that full
Yeah,
ceiling. That's why I'm going with
yeah.
the under.
For me, this is my stay away pick as far as the line. I'd love to be optimistic and pick them for the over, but I also don't want to pick them on the under because I know the schedule for the NFC South teams is favorable this year. So it's a tough one to go, and you don't know what Bryce Young you're going to get this season. So for me, it's a stay away pick. Finally, we got the New Orleans Saints, and this team. I mean, I can't even like begin with anybody on the roster. I think it begins and ends with Kellen Moore at head coach. I think with this team, Kellen Moore has his work cut out for him, and if I were him, I probably wouldn't have left Philadelphia. That was a cush offensive coordinator job with them, but coming into this season, it's to me this is definitely the fourth place team in the NFC South. This team passed on Jackson Dart and Shador Sanders, Shador multiple times in the draft as he fell to the fifth round. Ended up picking Tyler Shuck from Louisville in the second round. And out of all the guys, all the higher quarterback draft picks in this draft, that this one's like the weirdest one, maybe the most under the radar one, and I just don't see this really panning out for them. And they're definitely, to me, they're the most likely to pick another quarterback in next year's draft. Um, what do you see with this team? Because I'm at a loss for words with the Saints.
Talk about veteran rookies. I mean, Tyler Schaug, 26 years old. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty dang old for a rookie. I mean, when you're having a QB battle between him and Spencer Rattler, who was really bad in the games he played last year, um, it's things aren't looking great. So yeah, they went 5-12 last year. As you recall, remember they started 2-0, and they just
Yeah,
absolutely destroyed Carolina, which I was thinking, yeah, that doesn't really mean much. But then they
no,
went into then they went into Jerry World and destroyed the Cowboys, which I know the Cowboys didn't turn out to be very good, but that was still pretty impressive. How they just swapped them, like absolutely smacked them in the butt. And then they lost a couple, but it was competitive games to good teams. So like this team hasn't really fallen off too bad. But then yeah, the losses just started piling up. They obviously finished the year 3-12. Oddly enough, so Derek Carr retired in the offseason. Obviously he's no longer on the Saints. But he went, I mean, the perfect Derek Carr, most average quarterback in the history in the NFL. So obviously his time in the Saints last year, he went 5-5. Games he started, they went 5-5, and then they went 0-7 in every other game and looked pretty bad in those games as well. So there's no one like if an opposing team scouted the Saints team, there's like no one that scares you there are guys that would used to scare you, like
Cam Jordan.
Cam Jordan and Demario Davis, who was always a really underrated defensive player in my opinion, but they're both in their mid-30s now.
Yeah.
Chase Young's been a disappointment. He only had 5 sacks last year with them. On offense, Kamara doesn't really move the needle anymore. And Olave would be he's in that category for me where he'd be a really good wide receiver too on another team, but he just doesn't frighten
He's also
anybody
like the Tua of wide
like.
receivers. He's the Tua of wide receivers with his concussion history. So
yeah. I do like Shaheed though, Shaheed
yes.
As a deep threat. He was fun to watch last year, but yeah, I mean, I just don't see this team having much success, and it doesn't help that this just bothers me, and people can make fun of me for saying this, but Kellen Moore just does not look like an NFL coach. He just doesn't.
This could end up backfiring in a big way, in much like a McDaniels in Miami kind of way. And I just don't know.
He just doesn't look like a guy who would hold people accountable. Like, he just doesn't look like the big boss in the room. Like, I just
we're used to a guy in New Orleans by the name of Sean Payton being that guy.
Exactly. So. Yeah. And as we talked about with Miami, guys who don't really have respect and
can't hold a room right.
Can't hold a room right. That's how things fall apart. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe he does, but just I mean, we've never seen him coach, but just watching him on sidelines and stuff and just seeing his demeanor, I just do not see that at all. So, I mean, hopefully for his sake, the owners are patient and they let him go through this year and give him another year, because I think this year is going to be a disaster. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. They're finally doing a rebuild, which they should have done as soon as Drew Brees was out of the door. I think they're going to be so bad this year. They should just get rid of all the veterans after this year and just do full on clean slate.
Right. I totally agree with that. They're one of the oldest rosters in the league, and Kellen Moore's only a few years older than some of the players.
And he might be the best quarterback on the roster too.
Right. Definitely remember seeing him at Boise State. And but yeah, he's definitely a pass first guy. He's a great offensive coordinator, but I don't know what he's going to be able to do with Tyler Shough or anybody else in this QB room. He might as well just suit up himself. What are you seeing the lineup for the Saints?
I checked a little bit ago. I checked out somewhere. It said 5.5. Is it really 5.5, or are you seeing something different?
I am seeing 4.5.
Okay, 5.5. Under all the way. 4.5. I'm still probably thinking under. Probably 4.5 too. Yeah.
I think this will be a 3-win team. One of those.
Yeah, I mean they'll find a way to win a couple games. They're not historically bad, but they're bad. And yeah. I don't see 4.5. I would still feel pretty comfortable going with the under here. That's a good example. I mean, the Derek Carr thing is a great example. They went 5-5 with him and 0-7 without him, and not much has changed other than your quarterback's either going to be a guy who contributed to that 0-7 or an injury-prone 26-year-old rookie. So,
yeah. Plus, if I'm getting plus value on the under with the Saints at plus 110, it's an easy pick for me. Do you have the same division standings prediction as I do? I've got Bucks, Falcons, Panthers, Saints.
So that's what it was last year too. That's why I'm thinking like, I mean, yeah, that's the obvious one. The change would be at the top if the Bucks regress just a bit and the Falcons, like you said, 9 wins could win this division, and the Falcons are certainly capable of winning 9 or 10 games this year. So I'm still I'm gonna go with what you did, but if I had to change, if I was forced to change something, that's what I would do. I would flip 1 and 2.
Yeah. I think Buccaneers, just their consistency at the top will continue. I trust them more than any team.
I checked; they're getting plus money. It's plus 100.
Yeah. Right there.
Which pretty good value in my opinion. Falcons are plus 210, Panthers plus 410, which is pretty generous in my opinion, and Saints plus 1,300. But yeah, for me, it's definitely a 2-team race for this division.
Yep, I've got the Bucks winning and being the only playoff team to come from this division.